Hello, and a very warm welcome to SPUZZINESS, the sports business podcast. My name is Kim Scholze, and I regularly have the honor of talking to special personalities from the outdoor and sports industry. We look at the sports and outdoor market, at relevant content through the eyes of industry experts. I'm really looking forward to my meeting today. It's the 3rd of May in 2024 with Tim Selby, Vice President and General Manager EMEA for Merrell, part of the Wolverine Group worldwide. Hello, dear Tim.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I've been listening to a number of those over the years and, been very thought-provoking. So it's a privilege to have a chance to have a chat regarding the industry that I know we both love. So excited to be here.
Thank you for taking your time. And we both thank Dan for making this happen. Thank you, Dan. So the people we invite here in the podcast stand out because they have a special radiance for the industry. And they are either very innovative or different thinkers, particularly motivating and impressive by their view of things. And as we met in various business meetings and overlaps, I think I know some parts of what you do and where you are, but of course it would be wonderful if you have a short introduction for our listeners from a personal view, from your personal side. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, as you say, Tim Selby. I am a sports industry veteran. I've been in the kind of sports industry for many decades, probably 30 years or more. With the kind of companies such as High Tech, Adidas, Reebok, Rockport, and of course finally with Merrell. I live in the UK, but I have travelled extensively and spent a couple of years in Germany, probably 10, 15 years ago. So I love the aspect of the multicultural, meeting lots of different people, and certainly when it comes to kind of work and passion. I love being in this industry because all my hobbies have always been linked to sport and to the outdoors. So that for myself and my family, skiing, sailing, kite surfing, tennis, football. The list goes on. That's what we live for, and we love what the outside brings in terms of our personal values and how it makes us as people. So I'm very lucky that kind of the passions, my hobbies are actually kind of linked to my everyday life and my work life. And I think, that's why, I get so excited every day going to work, and, the opportunities that brings to, kind of obviously build a business, but I think help and change people's lives for the better, which, there aren't many jobs that afford that opportunity.
And you want to share the age of your kids, which is always for those who care with kids and live with kids, something which shows where you are.
Yes, so I kind of left it a little bit late to have children. Maybe that was good. Kind of have a little bit more patience. So I have a 12-year-old daughter who's been the apple of my eye and is now just starting to kind of turn towards those kind of teenage years. And Daddy's turning more embarrassing every day, so I have to behave myself. And then I have a 8-year-old son who is probably the opposite. If he should turn right, then left is definitely the direction he's going to go. So he loves to get himself into trouble and to kind of push boundaries as much as possible. But he's definitely amazingly sporty, and I spend a lot of those time, as many parents know, stood on touch lines or driving them from here to there to make sure that they're kind of practicing or improving their sporting endeavors. So but it's great to spend those times and see them running around enjoying themselves. And part of that is that teamwork, when they're playing their kind of their football or their rugby or their hockey or their their team sports, that how they bond and enjoy that whole relationship with their other teammates. So it's a great experience.
Wonderful. Something we can count on for our energy management, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, I think children, as you definitely need a lot of energy to kind of keep up with them these days. Their expectations, I think, are pretty high in terms of everything they want to be involved in, which is great for the future.
Definitely. So can you share some intro for the brand you're working with currently and your role, and maybe something like a personal journey regarding your job?
Yeah, so kind of, I've been with Merrell for, the last 13 years. Been on the kind of product and brand side for a lot of that. And then 3 years ago, just coming out of COVID, I got promoted up to the VP GM role. I think, Merrell has been on a kind of, has been definitely on a journey over the last 13 years. When I joined the brand, it was kind of really kind of quite an old school lifestyle kind of brand, built around kind of, brown trainers. And then we looked to kind of rebase the business back into performance. And, we really wanted to try and become one of those, top of the hill kind of, performance brands. And I think it took us, kind of probably 3, 4, 5 years to realize that wasn't really, true to who we were. We've always been that much more inclusive, everyday, kind of brand. And we did a big study about kind of 3, 4 years ago, and then coming through the Sakana data, we saw that actually what we needed to be was around the everyday. And I think once we had that epiphany, once we had that understanding, once we knew, who our consumer was and what they stood for, then we've seen the brand go from strength to strength. And I think, that is what has got me really excited. And, that's probably what's brought me here to have our chat today is, I think that understanding who your brand is, understanding who the opportunity, but then I think as an industry, from what the insights that we've seen, I think, we need to kind of challenge ourselves and, look at our viewpoint as an industry in terms of, how we portray ourselves, to the kind of, to the wider consumer. So yeah, it's been a great journey. And I think our success has been from our ability to adapt. I kind of, if any of my kind of team ever listen to this, they'll kind of raise their eyes and shake their head because it's one of my favorite stories. But when we used to kind of go out to kind of product launches, or if we moved into our showroom, kind of walked into our showroom 4 years ago, I always go, it was basically 40 shades of brown. If you walked around the room, if you could think of a name that described brown, you could go otter and oak and whatever you could. And then if we wanted to kind of get a little bit exotic or European, we'd bring in a cappuccino or an espresso, to kind of that was us pushing boundaries. And I think that was it. This sea of this slightly different colored walls of these brown shoes. And when I look at that back now, those shoes were developed for one sole purpose, and that was for walking on the mountains. And, when you look at it, when I look back at that now, that was very restrictive in its view. Yes, they were amazing for that purpose they were intended, but then that kind of limited it in terms of, how do we make that open to a wider and make it more accessible to a greater market? And then as you start to extrapolate that out from a brand and then from a market and then from a consumer perspective, I think, that's a very interesting thought and something that we need to look at both, for us as a brand, but I think maybe us as an industry.
As an industry, definitely. Before we go deeper into that one, can you share, as this is a sports and business podcast, some facts and figures on Merrell and maybe also on Wolverine? So just for the picture, for those who may not, maybe there are some which do not know Merrell. I don't know, but maybe there are. So some baseline information, is that possible? Like employees should it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So, Wolverine is an American, conglomerate made up of, a number of different brands. So, that probably the most famous being, Cat footwear, Saucony running shoes, Sweaty Betty, the kind of the big women's lifestyle brand in the UK. We're made up of, different groups, of which kind of Merrell is the biggest brand, within the portfolio. It is probably the kind of largest outdoor footwear brand in the world. So, the US is our biggest market, followed by EMEA. It's mainly built kind of 95% around footwear. And it's built. We're built around performance and lifestyle pieces. In terms of the EMEA, which I look after, we're made up of subsidiaries and distributors. So, we have both sides of our business, Western Europe tending to be the kind of more owned. And really, over the last, since 2019, we've had, double digit, CAGR growth over that time. So, as I spoke to, I think earlier, in our conversation, once we defined, who we wanted to be and have become much more laser focused on our focus, we've really kind of found our place and our niche in the market. And, we have grown, very well over the seasons. We're probably, through the Circana data, we're in a very tight battle with, Salomon for the number one spot in France. There isn't the same data in the UK, but I would say that, we're probably number one, number two in the UK as well, a solid number two in Spain. And, we've got strong growth in Germany and Italy. And then, definitely a top three brand in the Nordics. But, we've built that through, strong growth, in the markets. And then, when I look at it at a category level, our heartland is, I think they categorize it as outdoor multifunction. It's it's a battle between ourselves and, Salomon, at the top of that chart. And then we've just actually rebased ourselves into kind of trail running. So we're kind of moving from being that kind of traditional hype brand into, some of these more athletic parts of the market. And we're probably, I think we're the third fastest growing, kind of trail running brand. Was it fourth fastest growing trail running brand, in Europe, within the Circana data. So we're really kind of seeing that we're driving, strong growth. And I think that's come from, we've got great product. I think our marketing is, then we'll talk to that, kind of in terms of our point of view. And then I think it's, the way we, build that business, the great, strong strategic partnerships that we've got with our retailers that, making sure that, hopefully we're easy to work with. Hopefully, we're having those conversations about how we both, we both win in the marketplace, listening to them and, striving to, to kind of just deliver brand and product, but deliver, kind of business solutions that, that help our business. And I think it's those three tenets that have allowed us to be successful over the last kind of, 4 to 5 years.
And before we come to the brand values and your thoughts on outdoor as an industry, is it appropriate to ask for is that on sold pairs, or how do you compare yourself to, for example, when you say Salmon, etc.? Is that something which you present if you do a pitch presentation on your company, or is that something which is not appropriate to ask?
I mean, that's on the sold pair. So that's through the MPD, which is now Circana. That's through that data. So that that is independent research that that we get on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. So that
so this is nothing you compare
based on 2023 sellout results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think the selling is selling. Everybody can sell in. I think you can sell in, offer everybody a 50% discount, and it's not the easy bit, but I mean the most critical bit is sell out, and therefore it's that's the crucial bit. Are we selling out? Are we resonating with the consumer? Are we driving a successful business for us and our retail partners? So that's the proper measure, and that's what we look at is the Circana data. In terms of where we sit in terms of market share, and I think they cover now something like 70% of the of the kind of of the outdoor market through sporting goods, outdoor specialties.
Okay, thank you. So, always interested in figures and facts and so on. So, whatever you can share. But coming back to the 50 Shades of Brown, and when we had our short prep call, you said it is about the influence of your work and the insights you can share. Because if the question is, what's the big thing right now? What are you working on? What is interesting for all of us listening to somebody like you? What makes you tick? What's happening, etc.? You said the concrete measures you are doing is opening up the outdoors. And can you share what's in your head around that one on 50 Shades of Brown and also on connectivity? And you called it integrity and diversity. So let's open your mind, please, and tell us what's in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we did a big kind of global kind of hike study about kind of 3-4 years ago, and I think one of the biggest kind of insights was how consumers actually interact with the outdoors. I think we have a perception that people kind of go out for those those long full day hikes, or they're going off for kind of big trips, or those kind of great big kind of epic adventures. And yes, there is a certain percentage of consumers that do that, but actually, it's kind of think it's just over 80% of consumers are actually participating in the outdoors for half a day or less. And therefore, we're as an industry, we're creating these amazing products, but actually the design for kind of multi-day or top of mountains, whatever. But actually, the vast majority of consumers want to do something that is half a day or less. And what they also, we found was they don't want to be defined by one category. They want to be able to do multiple different things when they're in the outdoors. They don't see themselves as a hiker or a biker or a walker. They just see themselves as an outsider or an outdoor enthusiast. And therefore, I think the big piece that we've seen is, how do we connect with that consumer that maybe doesn't want, to buy 30 or 40 different things for each of those different, those different subsets, that we've done. And I think that's where it comes back to that piece that, you were talking about with the 40 Shades of Brown. That shoe you're only going to wear for that time when you're on the mountain. How do you take that and turn that into an everyday opportunity? And it's not that we do a terrible job. You think about insulated jackets. The outdoor industry have done a great job that insulated jackets are now part of everyday people's everyday life. In the winter, you throw on your insulated jacket and you wear that on the way to work, or you wear that out. That is very much a mainstream part of culture. And I think kind of backpacks are probably another one that are probably it's not just worn for the mountains. A lot of those are kind of worn for everyday life. And flasks, Yeti and Stanley and some of these other ones again have made a good move into mainstream culture. I think probably us as the kind of on the footwear side of the industry, I think we're the ones who probably we haven't done a good enough job in terms of how do we make ourselves more relevant for the for that consumer that just wants to go outside. And it probably isn't maybe even outdoors. It's we need to kind of think about it just being a more general bit of that outside culture. And that for me is that big unlock. And then if we can encourage those and motivate those people, then all the other stuff that's come post COVID in terms of the big wellness trends and health trends and everything that come on the back of getting people just to go outside, probably not even to go outdoors and go on those bigger walks.
So it's a definition question, right?
Outside of their their front door, off the couch. Mm-hmm. It's a definition question, because I think we should probably ask it a bit of research. If we say outdoor, what would you associate with the words outdoor? Whereas you said the words outside, what would be your connotations and your words? And I think they would be kind of vastly different. And then when you say walk, hike, or trail run, then I think it gets narrower and narrower and narrower in terms of kind of consumers' perceptions and thoughts. And
and you know what, just some thought in between, because when we were thinking and setting up the show, it was outdoor. By that time, outdoor by ISPO, which was my previous job, we always had the conversation on which is the definition of outdoor and what belongs to it. And you have different countries where the definition is completely different, because if you see Scandinavia with all the hiking events, etc., and this is what you maybe, if it comes to concrete measures, how to mirror what's happening right now, then it's exactly that. Why should we exclude anything? Does not make any sense. And as you were saying, it's getting more narrow and narrow for those who are athletes and experts and hiking up, which is more than alpinism than hiking. But in between that, just move. Let's go. Yeah. Just wanted to share. Continue.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I mean, and I think I think there's and I think there's definitely a place for kind of that kind of alpinism, and because that's where you drive innovation and all the kind of the benefits that we see, and and then from that piece you then take that down to the everyday. And I think we did when we did the research study, it was kind of, I think we saw that, what was it, 40% of consumers had never dreamed of buying a pair of walking shoes when they go out and that to go into the outdoors. So even when they were going to go into the, more into the outdoors, 40% of them would not dream of even think about, buying or purchasing a pair of outdoor shoes. And that was born of that perception that, when we kind of did a little bit of a deep dive, their perception of what outdoor was, that, and I don't want, their big, heavy, brown boots, that's not me. I'm into my, my sneakers. I want comfort, I want great color, and therefore, through that kind of, that perception, we'd created a barrier that, no, the outdoors is not for me because, this is what it looks like. And then I think on the other side of that is, sometimes, and I think, we're better than we have been, is I think, we get very focused on our product is overcoming the challenges and the barriers to the outdoors. So sometimes it's all about people hunkered down and it's protecting you from the elements and all of this thing. And I think that sometimes, the outdoors is this scary place where, rather than actually, yes, you need to be mindful. Yes, we need to educate people that, you need to take, you need to make sure you've got the right equipment and think about weather, etc., before you go into the outdoors. But it's, the vast majority of the time, it's a place of, fun and joy and, awe and inspiration, etc. And I think, we got to be careful that this scary top of mountain thing doesn't just stop people from, going into their local woods and, and having a great time disconnecting from the phone, disconnecting from their stressful lives, disconnecting from the computer, and it literally takes you 5 minutes to go and find that from your front door.
It's always the question if it comes to like super expertise and high level grade between A and Z or black and white or however you want to call it. But in the between, there is always the mass majority, as you were saying, which needs to be inspired and be brave or trained or inspired is the right word, I guess. There is, if it comes to like, what's the concrete thing, what you could share with our audience? So again, as a reminder, our audience is hopefully a B2B listenership, which we call our community. And this could be, of course, all the C levels and everybody, but also those who love to work in the industry or which work in other industries and can be inspired from what we do because we love outdoors and this is our passion and that's why we work what we work. Is there anything concrete you can share from what were the measures and what do you think is right now appropriate and what are the next steps? And this is not like the business cases which happened with Corona, full stocks, etc. That would be another question, but this would be like sales and business driven. Right now, it's more the inspirational brand perspective. What can you share? And it could also, of course, be the events you are offering, etc. So please be inspirational for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing from is to, how do we as an industry and how do we as a brand create tools that enable and help people get into the outdoors? And I think we've launched a couple of initiatives over the last few years, built around these insights. So the Merrell Hike Club, which is around helping and empowering women to get into the outdoors, and then the Merrell Fund, which is helping less advantaged parts of society get into the outdoors as well. And I think us as an industry, we can do more in those routes in terms of how do we to help and inspire those parts of the community to get there. When I look at something like the kind of the Hike Club, when we did our initial when we did our initial research, we went and talked to a lot of consumers, and some of the ones that some of the kind of comments that we had played back to them were kind of very insightful and almost kind of quite damning in terms of in terms of we were thinking about how we're portrayed. I've got a couple of quotes. So as a plus size Black woman, I never see anyone that looks like me doing it, so it puts me off. If I saw more, a few more people like me, then maybe I'd feel more welcome in this space. And she was a model and creative, and so she didn't feel that that she would that she was welcome. And then this lady was a doctor, so a highly intelligent lady, and she said, there's just too much information out there. I feel like I have a choice paralysis. There's nothing there that's curated for women. I don't know where to start. There's so many names, kind of technologies and acronyms. It's a complete confusion. So these are kind of from women. These kind of barriers that we get so into this kind of tech and we get so into this environment that I think we understand it because we play in this industry. But I think when people come on our websites or go in our stores, I think for a lot of people that they find it daunting. And then there was another one who was she was a mountaineer, and she says, I have lots of platforms to go on, but I must admit that for anybody who's just starting out, and I talk to my female friends, there's no kind of community for them. And I think this is this piece. I think as an industry, we've got into that, talking to that 10 to 20% that we know, and who kind of feel that same passion for us. But I think we've forgotten that other 80% and how we can inspire them to kind of become outdoor advocates and to have all the benefits and joy that we have from spending the time outside that we do. And and I think that's where the kind of opportunity is. I think from a kind of industry philosophy point of view, but I think also from a commercial opportunity. You and I spoke a second ago with regards to insulated jackets that have made that piece into mainstream. How do we get outdoor footwear to go mainstream? Running's made it there, basketball's made it there. Tennis in a certain respect has made it there as a opportunity. How do we make it that when consumers want to buy a new pair of product, that actually, when you think about it, outdoor footwear should be one of their first choices. We make an amazing product. It is usually designed with super performance. It's designed to perform the second you walk outside that door. The fit's great, the comfort's great. I think the one area that we've struggled for a number of years in terms of that style. And I think the big piece now is style should almost be the number one, and then the performance bit comes off that. Would you wear that with a pair of jeans? And then if that's a tick, then then that wins. Because then if you're going to wear with pants, then you're going to be happy to wear it on the mountain. And actually, I've got a kind of another kind of funny story that we've just launched our new Moab Speed 2, and within the women's collection, we've got a bright pink mid boot. And our finance director kind of went up into the Peak District with a pair of those on, and she said she made more friends on that, on that trip that she's ever made before, because all these people kind of saying, "Oh my golly, you're brave wearing a pair of bright pink boots up into the mountain." Kind of, what are you doing? I mean, this is not the kind of And she had all these people stop and comment on that she was wearing bright pink boots to go walking, in the muddy Peak District. But it was great that this product was kind of breaking those boundaries and those barriers and getting kind of some people to kind of feel almost uncomfortable that surely it should be brown and leather, not something that's kind of print lightweight and kind of almost more kind of built for with a pair of jeans than kind of built for the kind of with the outdoors in mind.
And it's.
But I think that for me is the the way to go.
And it's come back to the
values. That kind of inclusive, it's accessible, and then and then I think our values are how do we get make the outdoors for everybody. I think for us that is our that is our number one value within Merrell, that we should invite everybody into those, and we should lower those barriers to make that happen. And through through that the Merrell Hike Club has been one of our key kind of we see as one of our key vehicles. We did over 50 events across Europe last year, where we have kind of what we call our trailblazers, who kind of go out and create communities within their area that invite women and help women kind of get out onto hikes and and give advice and and help and allow these women to kind of break down those barriers. And then we kind of create Facebook communities within that, where they share ideas, share thoughts, get together, kind of go out on more frequently than around those ones. And it's been hard work to kind of start to build that community, but actually in the last 12 months, we've really started to see that, I think we've got to a critical mass, and we're starting to see the numbers and the participation and everything starting to grow. And, it's really exciting. And, this is going to be a big focus for us going into, kind of 25, 26, 27. We want to build these communities where we're empowering, encouraging, celebrating people, get into the outdoors. And we see, how do we then build that into other communities and other parts of the industry?
Yeah, it all comes down to exactly what you're saying, sharing concrete measures and influencing. Is there anything you want to share in terms of, because you were saying this is like the style and the performance, is there anything you want to add in terms of sustainability for what makes outdoor different than other bits and pieces in the industry? Is there anything you want to share on that point? Is that
I mean, I think to make sustainability.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it is. I think so. Yeah, sustainability. I mean, I think that is important. We need to make sure that the outdoors is there for for our future directions. But I think sustainability and inclusivity are two kind of slightly different things. And I think everybody within the the industry has a an obligation to do their best to to kind of to build for a better future. Merrell is never going to be a Patagonia. I mean, that is that is not that is not what we what we feel that is our expertise and what we're going to stand for. Of course, when you look at our products, we will use all the Gore-Tex EPE. Most of our products, I think for 2025, all of our products will have some form of recycled content within that. So we are fully behind and supporting that part of the industry. But I think for us, where we see the opportunity is on that kind of diversity and inclusivity, of side of the of the industry, and how when you look at obesity rates, becoming some of the highest they've ever been and growing. When you see that mental health is on the increase, and again, all the research shows that getting outside, being in the outdoors, taking time to disconnect has such a positive impact on society. Then how does how do we as an industry, as we've spoken about, allow that to be more accessible to people? Then that's a big chance to impact and have a positive impact on society for the for the future. We need to encourage and empower and and join. And I think how we talk to that younger consumer, I think needs to, we need to adapt and think about that, they want it for less than half a day. They want something that's versatile. Style is important. They want to do it with friends. They want to disconnect. I think all those ones, rather than maybe, it's just about, as we've spoken about, that 1 week a year or a couple of days when you get up to the Alps or you get to the Pyrenees or you get to the Lake District. Yes, that has that place. That inspires people, but I think it's got to be a wider conversation that it's the outside rather than just about the outdoors. And I think as I said, society-wise, with how do you
huge change
as an
opportunity
outdoor,
in that.
how do you encourage people on their to commute to work, to walk rather than get on the bus, and that walk, that's an urban trail, isn't it? It's not so. Is that part of even part of our communication going forward, that it's not even just about that time in the woods. It's it's whatever that trail could be, and if you're walking somewhere, then you should be considering outdoor footwear, because that's going to give you the best experience. You should be considering outdoor gear because that gives you the best experience. And I think that is where we can be an enabler in terms of the kind of the change that's come, that post COVID, it's that stress, and as we spoke, that obesity is on the increase, and I think us as an industry can be a game changer within that, because sometimes run and some of these other ones, they're even more challenging to a consumer. The barriers to entry for our industry are actually very low, and I think as we've been speaking about, I think some of the barriers we've created, rather than actually, you probably just need a good pair of shoes and a waterproof jacket, and if you're going to go for half a day or less, that's as much as you need. So how do we encourage and welcome people? And then when they've had a good experience, you probably just then we encourage them to kind of maybe get more involved and get more adventurous and try different things. But we're giving them the information. We've got the communities there that they can join, to allow that to happen. And if we do that, then suddenly we've got a bigger pot of people that we're inspiring and and that we can sell to. And I think then it's how do we do as an industry? But I've been in a few meetings with some of our key accounts recently, and I think there's definitely a tie-in between brands and retail, and they've got locations in places. How do we partner with them? To kind of, they're looking at how can they be more than a place that just sells product, and so how can we partner with maybe
definitely and opening this to other brands.
Probably just and opening.
Yeah.
So other brands and and then to retail partners, that how do they come community hubs, etc. So I think it's a big opportunity.
Yeah, and we in Munich here we have so much going on, unbelievable. So many like small communities always trying to share and combining. So as we spoke about, is there anything you want to share? How is it on right now managing Merrell in the times we have right now? This is, as it is a business podcast, we need to have a short view on the market and on the challenges, and what do you do to surf it somehow?
You probably just yeah. I mean, it's been an amazing few years, hasn't it? You kind of almost kind of we've always gone, well, 2023 is going to be the year where everything is going to kind of get back to normal, and then it's almost 2024 is going to be the year that's going to get back to normal. And then, fingers crossed, we keep saying, well, 2025 is going to be the year. But yes, it has been, very challenging over the last few years, from too much stock to too little stock to, kind of, trying to get, just find stock, for the factory delays and then remote working, to now people coming back into the office, managing that transition back. So I think when I look at it, that resilience, that openness to change, that the openness to question everything that you do, I think that has been some of the most important things that you do. But on the other side, I think something that stood us well and stood us has been that we've understood what we wanted to stand for. We've understood where we want to go as a business, and therefore, through all those times, we've very clearly had a filter with which, a roadmap with which we wanted to go. So I think that we had a clear brand direction, that we had a clear product direction, that we've got a clear point of view. We know, we've built very strong, I believe, partnerships with our key retail partners over the years. And I think, as I said earlier in that podcast, I think, we've got amazing product, we've got amazing stories. And I think, we work well, as a business, to kind of, to get that win-win in the market. I think that, that served us well. In terms of, 2025 going onwards, for me, the big opportunity is, as we've spoken for much of this, for much of this podcast is, how do we widen that opportunity? How do we, evolve that? And from all the data we're seeing, we believe that is the big opportunity for us, our retailers, for the, for the industry. It is making, product that is, kind of more versatile, better start for the future. And that, in terms, that's the, that's the big unlock. And I think, there are a number of brands, who are doing it well. And I think, how do we then build that more into an industry approach? And and I think the community piece, like you're saying, in Munich, there are lots of little communities. How do we build on that and grow that? But Munich is a very outdoor industry. Outdoor city. How do we take some of that philosophy and you take it into other cities and other towns and other places, across the globe and across Europe? So I'm actually very excited. I think it's
good times ahead.
It is actually a pivotal time for the industry. I think there are good times ahead, and I think it is coming. Outdoor is becoming more accessible, and I think we are changing. How we approach consumers and the market, and through trail running, which we actually make it very narrow, but actually the product that we're developing across the industry, we're bringing some great product, great designs, and consumers are having an amazing experience with it. So I see good times ahead. I think our industry is in good health, and I believe.
You think our industry is in good health?
Okay. I mean, it's tough, but it's not that we're not, that the outdoor doesn't resonate with the consumers that out, that the benefits of getting outside, where I think a lot of people now want to kind of, disconnect, want to get away from their stressful lives, understand that actually spending our times and, that joy and that happiness that can bring. Well, that's down to all of us to make sure that we help facilitate that. And if we help facilitate that, then I only can see, growth for our industry. Of course, mortgage rates and interest rates and, all those, consumer demand being slightly down, makes it tough for us in the short term. And we need to kind of, manage and work closely together to make that happening. But I do believe for the future, ultimately, as an industry, we are right to kind of, for the trends that are, coming through. We get the WGSN trends and, around, outdoors, people wanting to travel, wanting to disconnect, wanting to get away, wanting to have, time to reconnect with themselves. This all plays back to our industry. We are very, relevant. It's just making sure that, as we've spoken about, our tone of voice and how we communicate that, fits with what those, consumer trends and consumer insights and needs are for the future.
So this is why we are there for, to share as much information as possible. And if you agree, and we are already at the end of our session, because we always try to be focused for everybody in between listening to us. I would go to some questions which are always at the end of our podcast and are very spontaneous, all under the theme, how could this happen to me? So this could be interpreted very positive or challenging or funny or whatever you would like to share. And if you are ready, I would go into this one. Is that okay?
So I was kind of thinking about this one, and I think actually my funny one was, and it's actually stood me in good stead over the years, was when I first started for Adidas. Mm-hmm. So I just joined Adidas UK, and I was head of retail marketing for Adidas, and we went into one of our big retailers, and we had, I was in with a very experienced key account manager. We went in there to kind of discuss the future launch, and we went in and the meeting was going amazingly well, and then suddenly the buyer said, "I want this product." And I'm sorry, you can't have that product. That's not for the level of distribution that that you serve. I'm an important player. I want this product. Well, no, I'm sorry. We're very clear. Well, in that case, you can get out. And literally, we got thrown out of the building. I think this was my third day in the third day in the business. And I was like, oh my golly, I've been third day and I've just been thrown out of an important meeting. And I'm sitting there kind of sweating. And I look across at my key account manager, and he's laughing. And I'm thinking, well, what are you laughing about? We've just been thrown out of an important account. He said, this is the best news. He said, the fact that he's thrown us out means we're important to his business, and that, the product's selling well, and he'll calm down, and, it'll all be good, and, we'll move forward. And my lesson learned there was actually sometimes to say no is good, and to have a clear vision of what you want to do and what you want your brand to, and of course, there needs to be flexibility, but actually, to have this piece was, and of course, it was, it all turned out fine, but it was I think sometimes, we feel that if we don't say yes, then, things aren't, going to work out. And actually saying no, standing to your values, may be hard in that short-term moment, but actually for the long term can be beneficial. But that was an interesting moment 3 days into a brand new job.
And this resonates maybe. So for the questions, I would not comment anything. I will just leave it standing, because it's 7 to 8 questions in a row, but I fully resonate. So it could also be already the answer maybe to the next question, which is your biggest surprise. I
think my biggest surprise is if you empower people and if you employ good people and empower them, what an amazing, job and life that you can have. That, again, that was my biggest unlock. I think, where was I working at the time? I think it was at Rockport. And, I thought the way to do everything was, me to do it. And my boss sat down with me and said, no, empower your team, get them to do it. And ever since then, I've never looked back. If you have a great team and you empower them, then you will succeed at work. In terms,
One. Your most outstanding idea.
Golly, that's a tough one. What's my most outstanding idea? In terms, got me. I can't think of an outstanding idea in that short space of.
Okay, no what? Your best deal, is there something?
Coming on this podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry, my best what?
Your best deal.
In terms. Oh, my best deal. In terms. Tough one as well, because you do so many deals. What has had the biggest impact in terms
it could be private or it could be anything, and you can also
where we in terms. It's very hard. How do you kind of to do that deal without kind of talking about specifics on
I know
on those ones?
If there is something comes to your mind, it's.
I think one of the best deals that. I think probably one of the best deals that we did was when I was, this was on the brand side rather than the commercial side, was, one of the launches that we did for a major product with, one of the brands I work with, and the deal that we did with, that retailer to bring that product to life, I think was probably industry changing in terms of, how we did it, everything that we did at that time in terms of all the different touch points and in everything that we did. And that retailer hadn't really done anything to that level before, and the impact that had through how we driven it and how we the whole kind of disruption it caused through their business and the relationship that we built with that business because of the success and that launch that we changed. I think again that was that we'd actually changed the dynamic within a retailer. That was a big positive. In terms.
Okay. Your contribution to make the world a little better.
I think my contribution to making the world a little better is as we're speaking about today. I think we are advocates to making people inclusive in the outdoors, and we want to get more and more involved into that space. And a big push from our side is to get myself and the team more involved in those events, and to actually find time within our busy schedules to allow people to actually go out and have greater time kind of doing some of the values that that we say. So that's a big focus for us culturally over the next now, but going forward is how do we culturally change to become kind of closer to our values in terms of how we treat our employees. So there's a big piece that we're looking at in terms of that is really driving that that culture through. And I think if we we can do that, then that makes a big difference to people's lives as well.
Okay. And is there a recommendation or a source which you rely on, like a book or a film or a podcast or whatever?
Not really. No, I've never been a great one about kind of reading kind of business books. My life is I kind of actually I'm much kind of on those kind of personal connections. I've been lucky through my career that I think I've had 3 or 4 really strong mentors that have given me great advice and guidance, through my time in my career. And I think having that person or that sounding board that I've been able to kind of go back and have those trusted conversation with, I think that has been the big game changer for me. Is that I've had very smart people in above me or in other in parts of those of the organizations that I've been I've built relationship with and been given access to, who've helped steer me and guide me in terms of making some good choices and decisions through my career.
And how can people get in touch with you?
Sorry, say again.
If there is a way how people can get in touch with you, if you'd like to share that.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, I'm very open. So, if people want to kind of contact me on my work email address, then no problem. So, tim.selby@www.inc.com. So, happy to kind of reach out and discuss the future of this amazing industry. And I'm sure we'll bump into each other at ISPO and the EOG summits and all the other great conferences and events that we do as an industry. So it's hopefully a start of a journey where kind of get a chance to talk to people around the opportunities we face.
And adding from my side, because I love platforms and I love cooperation, which we all need to support and make sure that it stays relevant. So thank you for your time, Tim. It was a pleasure. I hope you loved being on the podcast like I do what you did. Did you feel comfortable? Was it fine?
No, just
hey.
That was good. That was great. Thank you. No, kind of not a natural area for me to kind of talk about, kind of myself or kind of the business, but believe that some interesting topics that that we should. And it was great to have this as a vehicle to air some of those topics, and
absolutely,
hopefully, we can build on that. So no, thank you for your time. It's been fantastic.
Of course. Is there anything else you want to have as something for the audience? This as a help or share, or do you want to send?
I think the yeah.
Hey.
No, I think the only ones is if you're interested in around helping empower women get into the outdoors, or if you're listening to this as a kind of a charity or an organization that helps people get outdoors, then I think part of this podcast there'll be a couple of links. Then please click onto those links, and it would be great to kind of hear from you about how maybe we can partner with you to facilitate some of those changes that we've spoken about. But with the Merrell Fund or with our with our hike club, if you'd like to get involved or feel that you can help in any way, then please click on those links, because we're always looking for for new people, for new organizations that we can partner with.
Super great. We'll share that in the show notes and via LinkedIn. Hey, thank you for your time, and hope to see you soon in person. And for those who were our listeners or
I'll
viewers,
probably see you in a couple of weeks at ISPO.
Exactly. And for all the others which are listening to us, please share and spread the word of our podcast. Please influence and inspire us for the guests and for the questions and for the things we share. We love our network. We love our industry. And so please share and spread the word. Have a good day, and thank you and goodbye. Thank you, Tim.